Welcome to this episode of Beauty Business Matters, and I am here with the phenomenal Andrew Hansford. Many of you will already know Andrew. Andrew's been in our industry now for quite a long time. Always sells out at anywhere he's speaking because he is just so enthralling. And I'm just so lucky to have him as a friend, and also we work quite closely together. So Andrew has ACH Group, which is probably one of the best resources or the best resource I've ever come across for skincare knowledge, and also is a UK ambassador for Dermapen World, and all-round awesome person. So, Andrew, welcome.
Thank you so much, Susan.
So, the thing is that obviously we have known each other now for quite a few years.
We have.
And we've done a lot of work together. But there's one thing which I think anyone who was at an event, you know which event I'm going to talk about.
Please.
Salon Life. Not this year, last year.
I'm surprised I'm still talking to you after that.
Where I got you to talk about your journey from where you started your career right the way through, because I think most people know you from the skincare ambassador that you are and like the skincare expert that you are, but you've had such a interesting background to your life that I think it would be so lovely to touch on that. And I think it's just so unique. I mean, anyone who doesn't know and it wasn't there will be like, really?
Yeah.
So Andrew, let's hear a little bit of like where everything started from with you.
Oh God. Okay, I'll try and keep it brief because I could go biblical. I think life takes you on some random paths sometimes, and I've always been the kind of person that just kind of ran with it. Mainly because when I was a kid, I studied hairdressing. You know, that was my thing, and I was obsessed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, totally. So like 16. Completely obsessed. That was my career. Loved it. I was going to go through with it forever and ever and ever. And then I had a mad moment where I fell out with my boss. It annoyed me. And back in the day, they had the Hairdresser's Journal. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
And on the back page, it had jobs overseas. One was Bermuda and the other one was Kuwait. I happened to choose the Bermuda one. Didn't want to go. But it literally was like a fingers up to him going, no, I've had enough, I'm going. So I went for the interview and got it. And then my life changed overnight because I came away thinking, oh God, now what do I do? And I really am like a home bird. Traveling was not in my bag. And my mum, I remember saying, well, you should do it 6 months. It'd be great. Just 6 months, you know, who gets us to do this? It's so exciting. And I was like, 6 months is great. I went. 14 years later, I came home.
Wow.
But it was that, going to an island so small where you get to see everything on a much bigger scale. I mean, I met the Queen. I went on the Royal Yacht Britannia. Now, I wouldn't have done any of those things if it wasn't a 20-mile long island, you know. Pretty much everyone met them. You know what I mean? It's not like I was anything special. And then I ended up getting a modelling contract, which took me to California, which was another whole horrendous story. That's probably the most emotive part of it. And I think where my journey into the aesthetic beauty world started, because I didn't realize what a horrible industry it is, you know, how abused you can be, how insecure, mentally damaged you can come out after doing that particular career. And the abuse I saw, all of it. In Bermuda, I did psychology too. So I think that was kicking in as well to try for me to kind of understand why people were being treated the way they were being, all in the name of beauty, all under aesthetics. And, you know, let's be honest, models just happen to have quite good bone structure. Doesn't mean to say they're any more attractive than anybody else. They just look good in front of camera. That's literally it. But it became, I was around in the superstars, you know, the supermodels and all that stuff in it. But it was still very innocent and very sweet because there was no social media.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that got me about when I did the Salon Life with you, that I put photographs up on the large screen of me modeling, and it nearly killed me doing that because I didn't like it. But what I did like, and what I loved about you making me do that, is that I realized a lot of the audience understood where I was coming from. That even though I don't like looking at, it's not like I don't like looking at images a long time ago, I can own those images because they were actually me.
Yeah.
No airbrushing, no nothing. They were actually me. Whereas the photographs that you see now almost never are you, because they're tweaked and manipulated and all these silly things you put on your phone to change yourself. And that really started to bother me. And that's where the dysmorphia is coming in and all those sorts of things. But I'm off on tangent now.
I think when you look at those pictures, though, because I look quite closely at them, you can tell you're not happy. You can just see in your eyes that it's like now you've got your sparkle.
The sparkle's back. I mean, I can do it with my eyes closed now. Just turn it on like a light switch. You're forced to. I mean, you have no option. But yeah, so it said, our industry is changing so dramatically because it is all based on filters and every other thing, which I absolutely detest. Because of that.
Yeah,
I can take ownership of that image of me. Yeah. But how can I take ownership of an image that actually isn't me?
Yeah, I'd like to think that the modelling agency's changed dramatically since then. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
No, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
I've still got friends in it. It's not that much different. It's just a little bit more behind closed doors, because back then there was no social media, so they could get away with literally anything because no one knew about it. There were no whistleblowers because they were scared to lose money and etc. But nowadays there would be, so it has to be a little bit cleverer.
Yeah.
Then I came back. Well, I studied, went to university in California as well, and then when I came back to the United Kingdom, another whole pathway changed again, because I wanted to open a clinic here and learn everything I'd learned at university and all the things through everything. But I was told I was, excuse me for saying this to all of you Americans out there, I don't mean this, but I went to interviews and people saying, no, you're just an aggressive American now. You're not English anymore. We don't want to employ you because you've lived in America for 10 years. So I was kind of like battered from one side of the car. I think, oh my God, I've got all this stuff from Bermuda, I've got all this stuff from America, I'm at New York, California. They're going to love me. I've got all this knowledge to give. Yeah. And it was thrown back in my face.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want anything to do with me. That was the year 2000. I did actually open the clinic, but I was 2 years too early. So I introduced toxins and fillers and all the different things that I'd learned in California, which weren't here. It failed because I was too early, literally 2 years. And then suddenly it all became huge. Then I started teaching, which in retrospect was something I probably should have done a lot earlier, because I taught modeling, I taught hairdressing, I taught all these different things, but I just did it because I thought they just were asking me because they needed someone, not that I was technically good at it. It wasn't until I came here that I realized, actually, not only am I not bad at it, I really love it. So that opened up. And I think that's probably something, in fact, no, it's not probably, I believe it's true. That's the one thing that I was always meant to do.
Yeah.
From the beginning. And as you know, I've been doing it for an awfully long time. Then I took a little break. I know you were talking about the book. I think you wanted to mention that weird situation. I decided to take a tiny bit of a break away from it all because it was getting a bit much. And again, long story, so I'm not going to go into it in massive detail, but I knew a friend of a friend who happened to make the dresses for Marilyn Monroe. He had Alzheimer's. I thought that was sad. I said, well, put the dresses on exhibition because you'll make loads of money to support your care, because obviously America, there's no NHS. He said, no, he won't sell them because he wants it to be this man's legacy. And I was like, oh, all right. We'll put it on exhibition rather than selling. And he went away and came back like 4 days later and said, yeah, great idea, you're doing it. I quote, and the friend over there said, are you all right with that? I said, I don't know what to do. I've just told him the poor man's got Alzheimer's. How can I say no? How can I know if this is actually going to support his health? I've got to. So 48 hours later, after a whole hilarious situation with the people who sent the products over, because obviously I had no idea of any of this. I still thought the stuff wasn't worth a lot of money. I just thought it was iconic. There was a video call. I think it was Zoom back then. I can't remember what it was, but it was some kind of video call with DHL in Palm Springs, California. And I was like, looking at this guy going, and he's waving at me. Well, they put all the stuff in a box. And then literally 24 hours later, the same man arrived at my home, which was the insurance side of it. I didn't know any of that. Then this big old huge crate was left at my doorstep. Dragged it upstairs and opened it. And it wasn't till then that I realized what I'd actually done or bitten, because I was like, oh my God, like I'm pulling out the original 7-year itch dress, like the pink diamonds, a girl's best friend, like all this stuff and sketches and photographs and the most beautiful things. And even though I wasn't a fan, it still made me go, oh, all right. And then one of my very best friends, who is hilarious, is a PR agent. So, and I called her and she was like, are you joking? Like, she got it. I had no idea. She totally got it. She went, fine, let's make this happen. So obviously it was going to be supporting Alzheimer's. And I'm very naive many times in my life. And charity I thought meant free, as in you don't get paid, nothing. I got an award for it, for being an idiot, basically. I lost money and they made huge amounts of money, but so I got the Hilton for free. I was in Brighton, so I got the Hilton for free. I got the security for free. I got the lighting, the mannequin, I got everything for free. Because I just thought that's what you did. Obviously, they're going to give it to me for free because it's Marilyn Monroe. Do you know what I mean? They can eat out on that one. But Chrissy said to me, Andrew, the night before the opening, do not go out. Well, I did. Completely ignored her. And I remember walking along the main street in Brighton on the seafront towards the Hilton Hotel. Channel 4, ITV, Sky News, Channel 5, America were all outside. And I'm looking at this going, what the hell? Is there a fire? Like literally that naive, walking around. And then I saw her looking at me, death stares, where screaming unnecessarily. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are you getting overly excited? And she said, Andrew, there were like nearly 200 press here. Wow. Do you have any idea how big this is? Well, I have absolutely no idea. And she said, right, they were demanding interview. I went, well, I'm not giving an interview. I'm not doing anything. And she said, well, someone's got to do something. I said, I don't know anything about this woman. Nothing. I'm going to lie to the world's press. No. So I hid in a cupboard in the Hilton Hotel, having a meltdown, going, what do I do? What do I do? And luckily the timeline was good enough that I could get hold of Bill in Palm Springs, who's the guy that owns the collection, the guy that was stage 1 dementia at this point. So he still had enough to be able to do it. And I called him up and I was like, Bill, you got to do this. I can't do it. You know, I'm going to do everyone a disservice if I even stand up and do any of this. He went, darling, what do you need me? What do you need? So they managed to video link him in seconds, and he stood up in his little house in Palm Springs and talked all about Marilyn, and it ended up being an absolute mind-blowing. I think there were I can't even remember the exact figure, but it was thousands in 3 days.
Wow. You just couldn't write it, could you? I mean, the thing is, when you started telling me about this, I was like, no way, yes, my word.
Oh, it was completely ridiculous. Yeah. And then I got a stalker. It was supposed to go all over to the Hilton hotels all over the world. And then I got this stalker. That's a whole nother story. I had to get, I'd have security surrounding me and everything. There were death threats. I mean, this woman is a big deal, right? I just assumed it was like, again, my naivety, nice dresses, make lots of money to support him and the Alzheimer's Society. No, out the woodwork come the total.
Yeah.
There's lots of words I could call them, but one in particular was a very nasty human being, and really affected me in a really big way. But anyway, he's gone now. But we managed to get to the Bath Costume Museum, which was the pinnacle as far as I was concerned, because it's the most beautiful place if anyone's ever been. And we took over the whole Bath Costume Museum, and it was to this day the biggest event they have ever held. But they demanded me talking, and I was like, oh God.
This is the start of your talk.
Started me talking thing.
You're speaking career.
I'm winging it. Yeah, I'm winging it career, basically. So I went to Palm Springs, met him, had loads of conversations, brought back loads more stuff, found the guy who made them's diaries. So suddenly I'm like, no, the thing is, I can't talk about someone who's not here or that I've never met. I think it's really disrespectful saying, well, I've never met Marilyn Monroe. I never met Bill, the guy who designed everything. So why would I make any any judgment on someone I've never met. That was awful. But when I went under his bed, I can't believe what I found. All the costumes from Dallas, Knots Landing, Dynasty, Betty Davis, Judy Garland, and it was all going on. I had it all in suitcase. An whole another story, losing a suitcase on a plane, on an airport. That's another one. Brought back the Oscar, lost the Oscar on a 747. It ended up being in the cockpit
Andrew,
with the pilot.
you need to write a biography.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's hilarious, but at the time it wasn't. I was hysterical. Like, how can he lose an Oscar at 30,000 feet? I managed it. And then, so what I did is I managed, finding his diaries was an absolute gift because it meant it's his words, not mine. So suddenly I could talk from the perspective of him. So I talked around the dresses. There were loads of funny stories. It was quite jovial and funny. I didn't answer any questions about her. I didn't care, really, because she's not around. This wasn't about her. She might have worn them, but this was about him. I wanted to make him the household name. And then this woman came up to me on the third week or something and said, I really enjoyed that. I was like, oh, thanks. It's really, really kind of you. I totally made it all up. And she went, no, you didn't. She said, I happen to be a booker or whatever they call them from Carlton. So Carlton's one of the biggest publishing houses in the world. And said, do you want to write a book? And I said, absolutely not. Are you mad? And then we had a meeting a few weeks later and she actually said, I want you to write it the way you spoke it. Yeah. Because it was a completely different way of doing it. You weren't going, Marilyn died in X. She was size X. That's been written 1,000 times. You did it from a perspective of how this man created a brunette into a blonde. And that's exactly what he did. So obviously the book came out, international bestseller, went into like 14 different languages, I think. I mean, of course, I'm not even putting my name attached to that. The reason it was an international bestseller because her face was on the front. Everyone would buy it just for that reason. But I did thoroughly enjoy it. And it took me away from that aesthetic beauty thing for a short period of time. But in actual fact, did it though? Because
no, it didn't. Sort of there, weren't you?
One of the most beautiful women in the world. Yes. I learned how she turned herself from a brunette into a blonde, how the makeup was made by Max Factor by hand in a pestle mortar to create the foundation and the lip cut, all that.
Wow.
I learned how the lighting happened back in the day to light you perfectly, how they used lanolin to give her that glow that she had. So it was almost like the hairdressing, the studying stuff, the modeling, the book, all of it came into one mishmash of stuff that I guess allows me to do better at my job now. Because I still pick from those things. Yeah. I still mention going to, Max Factor and seeing all this stuff and how it worked back then.
Is that all in the book as well? Oh, and the book's still available now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, fabulous.
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah. So how did you transition from there into Andrew Hansford, ACH Aesthetics and the fantastic things that you are doing now, which is awesome?
Thank you. Not really sure. I knew education was my thing.
Yeah.
I'd kind of already made that decision and I ended up doing loads of teaching for everybody else. So what I was ending up was giving them all of me.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like. You've been in it's happened to you as well. Sometimes they can suck you a little bit dry and it feels a little bit like you're being used. But
the thing is, I think is that like you're very much like me, you just love giving. So the thing is, you just like end up giving. Giving. And then
suddenly you're like, hang on a minute. It's great doing all these things, everybody else, and they're all leaving and being successful and being amazing, and then you're left. And I thought, no, I think I need to do this on my own. And it was difficult because I'm not very good at that. You're not either.
I'm not good at bigging myself.
No, considering you and I are quite big characters in the industry with the two of the most like, no, I don't want to talk. No, maybe that's part of the reason. So I did it and I opened ACH Aesthetics to basically give back as much as I possibly can to the beauty and the aesthetic industry because there was so much missing. And that's the one thing I realised.
I think you bridged that gap that was missing in the industry kind of thing. I mean, I've still never come across anyone else with the amount of knowledge that you've got on skincare and just obviously when you come and speak at Malta and whenever I've been at events where you're speaking, your knowledge is it's enthralling kind of thing. Everyone I think just feels like a sponge. You just want more. and as well though, I think because it can be quite complex, but you make it very simplistic. And I think that's where, and I don't know whether that's from all of this background kind of thing, but that's where I think, you've made it sort of a very, very interesting topic. I know everyone is interested in skincare because that's our industry, but in as I say, a way where it's fun as well. And I think because you make it fun and it just makes it stay and stick kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think about myself and all the years I've sat in front of auditoriums and wanted to lose the will because it was, oh God, so boring. And I remember thinking, if you made it a bit fun, or, I'd take it in more. Yeah. And when you're studying anatomy and physiology, it's not the funnest thing, right? It can be really, really boring. And I think I'm not going to dumb it down because I think that's disrespectful to anybody in front, which I'm told to do all the time, by the way, very bad. But as long as you do it with humour and a lot of random analogies, because I do love an analogy, don't I?
Oh, you do.
I do, yeah. They bring it home, and then if there's parts of anything I'm talking about they don't understand, it's said in such a way. I'm hoping it's said in such a way that they can take a note and run home and Google it.
Yeah.
Rather than making it really simplistic, because then it's disrespectful. Yeah. I think. I mean, you need to give it as much as you possibly can, and especially on subjects that I teach, so that can be on paper extremely boring. But my AMP course, I absolutely love teaching it now. There's more analogies in that could possibly, because I get bored. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But as well, I mean, when you started the ACH group, the membership program, I think you still use my quote, which is it's more addictive than Facebook and social media. And it is, because once you get in there, there's so much in there and again, it's knowledgeable, but where it's not too technical. I mean, I know you've got the white papers in there and everything, so you've got it from all levels kind of thing, and from all different angles with like videos as well as written content and things. It is awesome. And I know the thing is that I'm always on that you need to like really, really get that promoted, because it is just such an awesome resource. And as well, it's not a lot of money. It's still £59 a month for basically everything that or most of it in content where it's like a little Google on its own, isn't it, kind of thing?
It's getting bigger and bigger, yeah. I mean, it was, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of, actually. One of the things I'm most proud of, because it's 13 years of my brain being vomited into a website. But that's how I know the analogy I use, because people have asked me for years, like, you need to do like a resource center and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I cannot have my face or my name attached to it. It just makes me, the whole thought of it is just, like, who do you think you are? We all know people who love a bit of that, right? So I just couldn't bear it. And then I think I told you probably even there, I had a glass of wine and had a moment, something just clicked in my head. I don't need my name attached to this. I mean, it's in there, obviously, but it's not like the Andrew show. This is everything that we've just been talking about, every single thing. So over 30 years of my life has literally been put into this thing. So it wasn't, even though it was a mammoth to create it.
I know how long it's taken you.
Yeah, I loved every minute of it, actually, because I was pulling stuff from 25 years ago. I went, oh my God, that's still relevant. I have that psychology stuff that's really cool. Oh, I'll pop that one in there. Why the hell not? So as you say, it spans the spectrum. So to have it completely unbiased, which is everything I do anyway, when it comes to education and everything else, you know how much I hate biased education. But to have those options and also having that ending point there's one bit on there which is about my likes, which is you're on there obviously, and very other Derma Pen people are on there. Like, what is my personal opinion on this particular company or person? It's not saying you should, I demand, or getting paid by them, which none of that happens. It's just I personally believe that Susan's the best at what she does. Join her. And then you go off and make that, make an informed decision, as opposed to it being, they're throwing me a few grand a year to boost them up. Absolutely not. I couldn't sleep at night. Derma Pen being the best kneading device, or, the best RF machine, or the best, it's all in there.
Yeah.
And as I said, not being paid by it. So that means you can go through and go, well, actually, this, I get it. I can make my own decision now because I'm giving them the information to take away with. Because the trouble is, if you're purchasing in our industry, especially if you're purchasing a device or anything else, it's always mine's better than theirs. It's always this to and fro, isn't it?
I know it. I mean, it is. This is the thing. I think it is so mind blowing because there is so much information out there. There is so much equipment out there, and the thing is, everyone is claiming to be the best.
Yeah.
And I think the more knowledge you can have behind you to make an informed decision, then that's because you sometimes think, is that true? Has it done that? And I can always remember as well when I was at college, all those many, many, many years ago, because it was the first year that they'd run a course in the Northeast. They didn't know what to teach us, and so we were doing things. We were in with the electricians learning electrical science, and we doing cosmetic science, making mascaras, which would you would never have any eyelashes left if you ever used them and things, and a lipstick, that was always a strange one as well. It was so greasy, but the electrical science and things I really like now. I think, right, when you look at the background of a piece of equipment, I think that's never going to do that because of this electrical kind.
Picked up on it,
and it's but so there were so many things that we got taught that don't get taught now. There was some bizarre things that we did.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I can remember at one point we did in nutrition, we used to make scones and things.
This is a very nutritious lunch.
Part of the art exam was going to a museum and drawing and things. So, and I can remember making, it was a bit like Blue Peter, we made a salon in a box. You had to decorate it. It was a wooden box.
Oh my God.
A cardboard box and things. Yeah, we did some strange things, but 4 years later I came out all right.
You did it, yeah. You did it.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right on that one because it's also the ACH group was pushed really because of the hundreds of thousands of questions I've been asked over the years. And a lot of them have been the same. Mm-hmm. And you would have been asked them too. If you have a particular piece of equipment in your salon, someone will ask you, is it good? Should I get it? Those sorts of things. And that's great because that's customer focused, so you can make that decision. But if you're trying to spend, some of these machines are obscene, aren't they? So expensive. Yeah. And they give you their opinion on them. But what my job, I believe, is to take them out of the equation. So say if it's a radio frequency machine, I'll give you all the information on what radio frequency is as a standalone. Yeah. And then you will now have every piece of information at your fingertips to ask the right questions. Yeah. And then suddenly half of them are out of you don't want to bother with them anymore. And you're left with two of them. Then you can make a decision. LED is the same. Anything like that. And even when it comes to clinical applications, like certain injectables, mesotherapies, boosts, all these sorts of things, HA is HA, really. But if you start to look a little bit deeper into it, then having that information and actually having that, it's a power. Knowledge is a power. Yeah. And then you get that power and you go, actually, I don't understand why is your molecular weight X when it should be Y? And suddenly the salesperson's like, oh, someone knows their thing, knows their stuff, but that's what we should be giving.
Yeah, and as well, on top of that, though, clients are getting so knowledgeable now as well.
Very.
And I always say to any therapist, you should never say anything, or always just imagine in your head that a client's going, why? And if you can't answer the why, then you should never be talking about it in the first
Absolutely.
place. And I think that's where, the knowledge that you have and are given takes that way, where it means that you can explain to a client in a way that they understand as well, kind of thing. Knowledge is definitely key. I mean, it's to me, we need to be as professional as possible. And I think that is why, wherever you're speaking, I've never ever seen you anywhere where there's not standing room only, because I think that is because say all the reasons that we've said. It's because you make it fun, you make it accessible, you make it so that it'll never go away without remembering something because of how you're explaining it. But out of all the topics that you talk about, what is the most popular topic, would you say? That's the combined therapies or
combination protocols is the most important. I'm doing it twice this year. Again, I'm updating it, obviously, but it kind of makes sense because combination therapies are various therapies, individual and together, that loads of people use. But the beauty industry especially, they're taught never to mix and match, follow a brand, follow a machine. You can't possibly use this with this. Well, absolutely, of course you can. And I'm just there to tell them they can, and to how to mix and match it to get far better results. One treatment's never going to do anything. You've got combination has been around for years. Doctors do it. Well, everyone does it. Even regular medicine is combination therapy. You've got to do it. So most people have lots of these things in their arsenal anyway, but tend to have them as standalone. So you have this facial and this machine, and then I'm like, no, stop all that. Just mix it all together. Yeah. Shove it all in one, and you're going to get a much better result much quicker. Yeah. Obviously, from a very clinical perspective, so they're not going to get into trouble.
But I think this as well. I think this is where the industry is going. It's more to tailored treatments. And I know like the salon owners that I'm teaching and developing their businesses, it's all very much around clients want something more bespoke. They don't want this facial and they don't want that facial. They want someone's expertise in being able to, like you say, mix it together and so that someone's getting the best result. They're not just getting a course of treatment. There is one treatment, 6 of or 10 of. They want someone who can like think, right, we'll do 2 or 3 of these and then we'll combine some other bits into it and things. And obviously as well, from my perspective, it helps salon owners to become price irrelevant because no one else is doing exactly what you're doing. So nobody's going to be comparing this facial to this facial kind of thing, like apple to apple, where instead it's like a fruit cocktail and nobody else has got that exact fruit cocktail going on kind of thing. And I definitely see that's where the industry's going. Can I just ask you, Andrew, where do you see, obviously, now I think the way technologies are moving on, that we can sort of do a lot of what toxins and things can do and in injectables without doing that. Do you see that's where the industry is going?
Absolutely regenerative medicine is absolutely, there's a massive need. People who kind of know their stuff are on board with that already. Even the average client or patient will know that regeneration makes more sense. So, without being rude about toxin and filler, there's absolutely a place for it without question, but it's instant gratification. It doesn't last. So, and also to implant or to inject consistently never looks the same twice. And then you can end up with problems down the line because it does a multitude of other things that can go horribly wrong as well, but we're not here to talk about that. But regenerative means that I can get to a permanence. Yeah. And you and I will know exactly the same because when we were younger, there was no such thing as any of those things. It was like the basic fluffy facial every 6 weeks. It was all great. No one knew any different. But it wasn't really about anti-aging, like stopping, I hate that expression, pro-aging. It wasn't about stopping the clock, all those sorts of things. Whereas now, what we've got at our fingertips is absolutely crazy. You know, with exosomes, polynucleotides, stem cells, these are all human derivative, or should be, because they're going to work inherently with their own DNA or RNA and actually stop things. I mean, I'm not, but you know, if I was like 25, 26 now, I know with everything that we know right now that we could pretty much stop it in its tracks. Without question. Obviously, removal of sun, SPF, all of those things, all the things that we now know. Needling is the number one for anti-aging because it's collagen induction, but skin health with the retinols and all the things that we didn't have years ago. But this is all evidential. This is all true fact stuff. So if everyone does their job properly at a certain age, they really can, you know, get their skin or maintain their youthful appearance for much, much longer than we had. Like you and I kind of lucked out, I think, because we weren't that bad at sun and we were okay. And we've we've looked after our skin for most of our life anyway, and that definitely shows with some of our peers who didn't.
Yeah, totally.
And that's quite obvious with the DNA damage from sun. So, you know, regenerative stuff is really good. And it's I always say to when I'm teaching, and I always say that there's only 5 things that anyone should really do. Outside of that, they can have some fun with things, but it's really irrelevant to me. And those 5 things are needling, mesotherapy, LED, radiofrequency, and peels. Because those 5 things are used in hospitals.
Yeah.
None of the others are. So all the other machines and equipment, all the stuff that's floating about, they may be okay for certain things, but those 5 things are used surgically in hospitals.
That is a brilliant piece of information to pass over.
You know, so knowing that they were used clinically or surgically, it means that you've got, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of clinical studies behind them. Yeah. Why would you argue? I mean, I even had a woman the other day, I say this all the time, I'm boring myself, but when they go, does LED really work? And I respond with, give a NASA a call. I don't even bother asking now. Answer and just go, give NASA a call, they'll tell you. But you know, those things. And then, so that's, to me, that those 5 things are my combination.
Yeah.
I'll do that on everyone, all 5 of them.
Yeah.
But then some people might have them, some people might not. But also, and this is no judgment to the beauty industry especially, because this is why I hate the branded training. Because and again, it's not their fault. They've got a brand, they want to create this brand, and that's absolutely fine. But they should be a little bit more open to saying, well, yes, you can use X and Y within it. But they don't, because they want them to focus on that specific thing. And that's not correct. So a lot of therapists get very nervous about maybe adding something to it just in case, 1, they're not insured, which they absolutely are, and 2, what the end result's going to be. But if you're using those 5 things, each and every one of them are so clinically correct, if you're using the right products and the right training, that you are going to do it. All you're going to end up doing is giving the client the most brilliant results. You're not going to have a negative.
Yeah, and I do think insurance companies are sort of cottoning on that, like that now.
Absolutely.
That, you know, that is changing as well, and I do love where our industry is going, because it's, you know, the thing is, it I think it's very exciting times, because it is, you know, I just see from, obviously I'm not in my clinic now, but I just see from my team, you know, the excitement they have shown me before and after pictures and things of like what they've achieved done.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that, and obviously then that excitement transpires into like the client, and client wanting to like sort of learn more and things. Yeah, I mean, from obviously when I trained and things, it's very, very much getting into more exciting times, and I think that's. Do you think we've come to a standstill, or do you think there's still more new things that are going to come out, or do you think we're at the point where it's pretty much we're at the top of like the technologies that are out there, kind of thing?
No, actually, I don't. I think what we're doing is, England is odd, right? We know England's odd. Like who can do things and who can't do things. It's just the most crazy thing. But we're not here to talk about that, because that'll be a whole day. But we love a bandwagon. We love a marketing ploy. We love something that's new and sparkly. Europe doesn't. You know, it's just we follow America for some strange reason. But what we're doing is we're doing a 180 on it. We're going back. And that's why when I talked about the peels, the LED, diathermy, you learnt that. radio frequency. What's the zappy one that they use on hair? What's that one?
High frequency.
High frequency, obsessed. High frequency has got huge trials behind it. But that all went, galvanic.
Yeah, they do like a full circle, don't they?
What galvanic is actually pushes product in so much more than all these other electroproliferation-y malarkey things, because it's been around forever. So it is doing a full circle of things now. So people are going, well, actually, all the clinical evidence that we have at our fingertips are these things. Why did we forget about them? Why did we move on to this funky, flashy machine that everyone thinks is, amazing, when actually it's not?
Yeah.
So that meaning that the evidence on that is already there. So they're updating that evidence. Like needling, being part of the dermapen world now is this is one of the reasons why I said yes to the ambassadorial role, because they've changed the protocols from their inception to now, because it's a medical treatment. So things change. So they started like 12 years ago, and 12 years later, the pen is different. The needle sizes are different. The depths are different. The injectable products that go along with it are different. So they've done all of those studies to update and continue to update. LED does the same. Radio frequency does the same. Peels have done the same. Back in the day, peels were like horrendous, terrifying. Now they're not, because we now understand them more, and the combination of them as well. So I think it's actually, yes, it's done a 180 or 360, but the same protocols are coming out bigger and better, and with much more regenerative backstory, and evidence base, which is what everyone should have anyway. If it doesn't come with evidence, then bye-bye. Yeah.
But again, that's back to the knowledge that you're given as well, kind of thing.
Well, trying, because I don't want people to make mistakes. And as well as I do, the amount of people who spent a fortune on equipment and machines and they've never used them again because they had some usually brilliant salesperson telling them they can make X amount of money a month on it. And, that just makes my skin crawl when I hear things like that.
Yeah. But again, though, I think salon owners have to take a certain amount of responsibility on that.
I agree.
Because the thing is that it's all around doing your background knowledge and as well your market research and finding out if you've got a market for it.
Yes,
because the amount of salon owners I know who've bought equipment because they thought was great and loved it for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I can kind of see that, yeah.
And it is tempting when it's like being in a sweet shop, isn't it? When you're at the shows and things. But I just think obviously our industry hopefully is going to carry on, and I know we do a lot of judging together and things, and the thing is that the standards. I do feel that if we can keep elevating standards, then it can only be a good thing, and hopefully. I know there's obviously different levels in our industry, but if we concentrate on that, the greatness of how things are going, I think that, our industry is just going to ever carry on evolving. And Andrew, I think, what you do is awesome. And,
thank you.
And like I say, I think anyone could listen to you for hours and hours and hours. And it's just, I know with my team and things, if they don't know anything and they can't find anything, they'll say, can we just ask Andrew?
Yeah, they do.
As if we've got Andrew now.
On speed dial.
I know. But I think, for the industry, you have done so much to...
Well, thank you. So have you.
Bring our industry to some of the recognition it needs to be. So
100%. The therapists deserve it. They're brilliant. They do a combination of things. Therapists are not just clinicians, but they're mini psychiatrists. They're support their shoulders to cry on, and they're not. They should be screaming from the rooftops, and they're not. And I wanted that to be part of my role in life, is to give them that.
Andrew, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Oh God, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved it.
So if anyone wants to find out more about you, Andrew,
Google
Google you. And you're everywhere.
Unfortunately. The achgroup.co.uk or achaesthetics.co.uk.
Yeah.
Or just Google my name. It'll pop up, I'm sure, something random.
Yeah.
Will be up there.
Social media? You are...
We've got Andrew Hansford, which is a personal one, but the ACH, aesthetics, any of them.
Right, perfect. And we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Brilliant.
And obviously I have all my details in there, so anyone can get in contact with you through me as well.
Amazing.
So thank you so much,
Thank
Andrew.
you for asking me. This has been really lovely. I've enjoyed every minute of it.